This episode is brought to you by Kia's first 3-row all-electric SUV, the Kia EV9, with available all-wheel drive and seating for up to 7 adults, with a 0 to 60 speed that thrills you 1 minute, and available reclining lounge seats that unwind you the next. Visit kia.com/EV9 to learn more. Ask your Kia dealer for availability. No system, no matter how advanced, can compensate for all driver error and or driving conditions. Always drive safely.
I'm Mo Rocca, and I'm excited to announce Season 4 of my podcast, Mobituaries. I've got a whole new bunch of stories to share with you about the most fascinating people and things who are no longer with us. From famous figures who died on the very same day, to the things I wish would die, like buffets. All that and much more. Listen to Mobituaries with Mo Rocca wherever you get your podcasts.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Boobies!
Hello, and welcome to
Boobies!
Boobies. That's right. We're your hosts. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Joshua.
And today we're here to talk to you in your ears about
It.
Chapter 2.
The sequel.
2019. Directed by...
Muschietti. Andy. It's the way... I really like the last name. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right, but I think
Muschietti sounds right to me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like that pronunciation, and I think that's what it should be. If it's not, he should change his name.
Yeah, well, that, and there's just a thing about, like, I feel like for me, like, Italian names for some reason, it's I don't know. And it makes me want to say it like, it's mia Mario.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it is directed by him. It's adapted by screenplay from Gary Doberman.
Doberman or Doperman?
With the B.
Doberman, like a dog.
Which he also, directed the first one, but the first one was actually written by Chase Palmer, Kerry Fukunaga, and Gary Doberman. So if I butchered those names, I'm sorry.
Fukunaga. That sounded bad.
It did, didn't it?
Yikes. Pretend that didn't happen, you guys.
And so, I'm excited to get into it. I think we're going to just jump right into it because it's a pretty long movie.
It's a super long movie. So we start with, I couldn't remember her name, even though we just covered
Beverly?
it. Yeah, so I was like, we were with What's Her Face floating.
Little redhead.
Then I was like, Bev.
Ice Spice.
That's right. But yeah, we're with Bev floating back in the cistern. Is that what they called it?
They call it the cistern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we flash to September 1989, right?
Yes,
89.
when they were September of 1989, whenever they had to make their little oath to each other.
A little blood pact. And basically we're starting with where the ending of the first movie left off.
Yeah.
Which is nice. It gives you kind of a little recap.
It does.
For like 5 minutes of what happened.
Yeah. I mean, even if you... because they made these movies and they came out like a year apart, essentially. So it's a good reminder and refresher so that you don't even have to watch the first one. Because like it's the way that you're watching the whole movie, there's so many flashbacks. I mean, it adds to the story, yes, but it also kind of gives you the gist enough of like, so you can even follow along even if you didn't catch the first one. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Andrew watched most of it with me. I did break this one into 2 sittings again.
Yes, it's
and
very
he
long.
hasn't seen the first one.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But he still like understood, and it's like because they're essentially almost like they are their own 2 essential chapters. But they tell the same story. It's just one's when they're kids and one's when they're adults.
Yep.
Yeah.
Slightly different scares and stuff like that.
Yeah, and we're following along the storyline, and we know that they made this pact because they had a hunch it was going to return because Ben had already talked about all the dates and how it always came back. And now we are 27 years after the events that happened that summer, and we are in Derry, Maine.
We're
And
starting with a hate crime.
we are. It's pretty.
I forgot it started with that.
I
and
did
then I was
too.
like, oh, fuck,
I
that's
think I
right.
blocked it out of my memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty fucking violent.
It's very violent. It's very sad.
Yeah, it is.
And yeah, it's very scary.
Very
So
scary.
unfortunately, we do have this lovely gay couple, two guys, Adrian and did you get his boyfriend's name? I only
Not
got Adrian's name
Adrian.
because Adrian kept getting his name shouted out. Like,
yeah.
Adrian,
Yeah.
don't kill him. Yeah. But
Adrian and not Adrian.
Adrian and not Adrian, they're at the fair. It looks like they're having a really good time. You can tell that Adrian
Just minding their own fucking business,
yeah, and
too.
they're there, checking out the town fair because his boyfriend brought him here to his hometown. Essentially probably go meet the folks. Who knows? Yada
Yeah.
yada yada. And right off the bat, we have them getting what's the word?
Harassed.
Yeah, by these little pricks.
Little punk.
Yeah, one like 20-something-year-old with like 13-year-olds, which I thought that was weird
Yeah,
too.
I'm assuming it must have been a brother situation.
Probably, I guess.
At least I would hope. Otherwise, that is really fucking weird.
Yeah.
Just why are you hanging out with a
I'm a
13-year-old?
loser. And
The 13-year-old instigates it, though.
he does. Mhm.
He's the one that comes up and he spits on him, doesn't
Mhm.
he?
He's
Ugh.
like, we don't like fairies in this town or something like
Yeah.
that. And then Adrian says something about what's her name?
Deborah. No, not Deborah Messing.
Deborah Messing. The other one. There's so many jokes about her in this movie. Actually, it's quite funny because she's brought up like 2 or 3 times.
Oh,
I
didn't realize.
all in like jokes situation, but yeah, I'll remember it here in a minute.
Yeah, I forgot her name.
It's okay. And so they end up leaving. Meg Ryan. There you go. You've got Mel.
Yes.
Yes.
That poster was on the wall.
On which wall?
Whenever Richie
think
went
this
to
one.
go receive his token,
That's right. Yeah.
pick his token up, there was a busted movie poster for You've Got Mail.
You've got Mel. And so we have all of that going on. They end up leaving, and as they're leaving and kind of talking with each other, the jackasses end up following them, and they start harassing them again, and they start to beat up Adrian.
Yeah.
Which is pretty
really
sad.
bad.
Pretty violently.
He's like coughing up blood
yeah.
and stuff too. It's terrible.
It's Henry Bauer like 2.0,
yeah.
And they end up fucking him up so much that he's kind of basically unconscious, and then they throw him over the bridge
Into the water.
that's rushing.
Which is, which
like
was
very
really
fast.
rushing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden afterwards it's not, which I thought was weird.
Yeah.
I'm assuming
And
Pennywise
it's all
was
Pennywise's effect, I think, I'm sure.
coming into play there.
Because Pennywise, he's back, and he is on a, what would you call that?
In the embankment.
Embankment, yeah, right
Waiting
where the
to
sewer
help
opens,
Waiting to help Adrian out of the water.
which he
He
does.
offers such a nice lending, helping hand.
Only to then rip into his flesh.
Armpit.
Yeah.
He bites his armpit out.
as his boyfriend is watching, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I kind of also was like, the boyfriend kind of didn't do enough for me, but also it's Pennywise. What could you do? But also, even when he was getting held down by 2 14-year-olds, I was like,
I was like, boy, we can do more.
we can
Fight
do a little
back
more.
a little bit.
Yeah, kick him in the balls.
Yeah.
Like, it's fair game right now. Or an unfair game, I should say. But anyways, because it was like what, 1, 2, 3, 4 against 2 or 5 against 2, something like that.
Yeah, it was like at least
the
4.
posse. But yeah, so unfortunately, Adrian's out of the game. He's dead, and we get all these balloons floating in to the scene. So many balloons, so many red balloons.
Yeah,
and,
so many.
it's funny because
Noinzig
balloons supposed to float, but these balloons are coming down, and
They're sinking. Time to sink.
Yeah, and that's whenever we get our title card, right? Or no, we get Mike narrating because
Mike narrated a little bit earlier.
Before?
Well, but I think he narrates again.
like right after, and he's talking about how
sometimes what we tried to leave in the past won't stay there.
Exactly.
Sometimes it comes back for you. And then
Dun, dun,
Mike
dun.
finds the red balloon.
Mm-hmm.
He comes to investigate the scene. He finds the red balloon, and then come home, come home, come home, written underneath the bridge, which was like,
Yeah, he knows
Pennywise.
who that is. The message is for him.
Yes.
Yes.
For him and it's his duty now to call everyone and get them all here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then, yes, that's where we get the title card. It's not as exciting this time around.
No, but I did like it.
Yeah.
That is pretty
it's
cool.
Still just like, boom. It reminded me like very Funhouse effect.
Mm-hmm.
Little lights
Very
like
clowns.
at the fair.
Mm-hmm. And because the fair comes into play a lot into this one, actually. We have Bill as an adult, who is played by James McAvoy. Mr. McAvoy, the boss. And he's basically an author, and he's basically playing not a parody, but like what Stephen King is. And he's kind of poking fun at himself.
Yeah.
Because right off the bat, we have him trying to finish this book that they're making a film of, but he can't. Actually, it did have an ending. He had
already finished it, yeah.
But they want him to rewrite the ending because
they
nobody
didn't like
likes it. Yeah.
No one likes his endings.
Which is kind of a thing that Stephen King's played by sometimes, because people like to say that his endings aren't that great. But also,
those people are stupid.
They are, but also like people say that about everybody and everything. Like nothing can end the way you want it.
No.
You know, it's just
except for Schitt's Creek.
Exactly, and they did that intentionally.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
so it made it beautiful.
He's talking to his wife, and like the director, all this stuff is happening, and as he's doing that, he ends up getting a phone call. And
it's Mike.
And he's like, essentially, he's like, who is this? And then he's like, Mike, is it Hannigan? Hanley? Something
or something like that. It's something H, Mike H.
Yeah, Mike H. And he has to like jog his memory. And he's like, oh yeah, hi,
all
how's it going?
His scar starts hurting on his hand
that's right,
too.
Yeah.
Which I was like, oh, and you can tell all of their scars going to start hurting, but it was only his.
And you can tell that he is getting that it's very Harry Potter, isn't it? When his scar starts hurting. You can tell he's getting the fear and like the nervousness strucken into him because of his body language and all that stuff as he's answering the phone and talking to Mike.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's a common theme as we basically go throughout each of them, and we are seeing their phone call from Mike. So next we have Eddie, and basically Eddie was on the phone with his wife, who seems to be, he married his mother.
Married his mom. It's the same actress.
He really?
Yeah, it was the same actress.
That's
different wig.
Funny. Married his mom, and then gets this phone call from Mike and ends up crashing his car.
Yeah.
Like immediately. Just because basically he hears a name and he's like, what? And then loses control. Or like stops paying attention.
To the road. He runs a red light.
Yeah. And ends up getting T-boned.
And then we get Richie, who is a comedian, and we end up having him getting the phone call and throwing up.
Yeah, it's a very visceral reaction. Just ends up going and puking out his little brains.
Which I guess happens to him when he gets nervous, because it happens to him a lot.
Yeah, he threw up
when he was a kid,
he killed.
Right?
Yeah, and then he threw up once he killed Henry, too.
Yeah.
Which was funny.
Yeah. And we do have then Ben getting a phone call, which we now see that he is a pretty prominent architect. He looks like a big boss. Fine. Yeah, exactly. He lost some pounds, he got some abs, and he got money. Because look at his house. His house was nice.
I know, his house was like
every time they kept zooming out, I was like, oh, that's so beautiful.
Damn. I was like, boy did well for himself.
Sure did.
Yeah.
And then we get one of my favorite transitions I've ever seen, the puzzle piece transition.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Going into Stanley. And this just breaks my heart.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The whole Stanley situation is very sad. And basically Mike calls him and says like, how soon, his wife was like, Buenos Aires or whatever, like, we're coming for you. They had just booked a trip, and then all of a sudden he gets this phone call from Mike, and he's like, get here tomorrow. And Stanley ends up completing or unalives himself by slitting his wrist
in the bathtub. Very beautifully.
Because he's too afraid to come back.
Yeah. The way they framed it and shot it was kind of like tasteful.
Yeah, it was.
Sense. Yeah.
And it's it was very upsetting.
It's sad. It's a little triggering, so trigger warning. But also it's just sad because it's like already off the bat we're losing one of the gang, and we really got to like form a bond with these kids. And so it's really sad to like you feel like you're like the eighth member of the gang as the viewer, and so like you lost your friend essentially right off the bat.
Yeah.
And it's even sad because at this point nobody else knows about it. you know, so they're all just like
Yeah.
going to like and expecting everybody to show up, and then it's like an empty chair.
They're
which we
like,
end up
"Where's
seeing.
Stanley?"
Yeah, which we do end up seeing. But then it ends up as he, you know, the blood is dripping, which is also a really cool transition off of his arms in the tub. We see it landing on a pillow and then onto Beverly's cheek, and it wakes her up.
Yes. And at this point, we've also kind of gathered that it makes them forget their childhood or somewhat the trauma did. Either they blocked it out of their memory entirely or something.
There's something magical.
Magical, yeah.
Um,
And supernatural at work.
mhm.
And it does seem to be the latter. Probably actually a good healthy dose of both.
Probably. Yeah.
But yeah, then we're with Beverly and we wake up in bed with a start and she gets a phone call and it starts packing basically immediately.
Yeah.
And then she seems to have this understanding, nice partner with her.
At first.
And then she tries to get up and he grabs her wrist and then he just loses his shit on her. She married
Yeah.
an abusive asshole.
Yeah. She married her father.
Yeah.
It's funny
Basically.
because all of these kids kind of end up, because of what they forgot of like where they came from, end up kind of going into the
Repeating.
cycle of where they were.
Yeah.
Almost subconsciously, you know? And so, yeah, she has to really fight her way out of this situation, just kind of like when she was fighting with her dad when she was younger. And thankfully ends up getting away after roughing him up a little bit, then, you know, knocking him out with the picture frame. Or not even knocking him out because she's just able to get away because he's yelling at her as she's running out the door and leaving her ring on the what do you call it, the staircase stoop. And yeah, that's it was a pretty intense scene, unfortunately. But she ends up what happens? Henry, we start to see Henry, right?
We're back with Henry whenever he was a kid.
And he washes out of the well with all the other dead bodies.
Yeah.
Or not well, but the
little sewer system, sewer drainage pipe, and he's coming home as the police officers are investigating his father's murder.
Yeah.
And they quickly put together that it was Henry that did it, and they're putting him in handcuffs, and Henry's yelling stuff like, "I've still got to kill them. I got to kill them all," kind of like Pokemon.
Yeah,
But
very
it's
much
just
demented.
dark
and
version.
Very much not the same after Pennywise used him to try and murder the kids.
Yeah.
So it's a flashback, but also foreshadowing to something that's going to happen in the future of the movie.
Exactly.
And at this point, we do see that he is in an asylum.
Yeah, like a
and
psych ward.
he is now the same age as like our other fellow adult kids. And
He's looking real rough.
real rough, as one would in the loony bin. And he, is that offensive? My bad. Sorry, you guys.
I was like, it's probably not.
What are they called? A mental health facility.
Yeah.
And so he ends up seeing, kind of, if we would right now, see a red balloon out the window.
Red balloon out
Just
the
floating,
window.
and it instantly like
They really missed an opportunity to put 99 red balloons somewhere. In
the song,
the
the
in
Luft,
this movie.
red balloons. Isn't that the German song?
99 Luftballons.
And he ends up, I guess, getting like resparked, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, it triggers a memory and he gets all excited. Because as he was getting arrested as a kid, we saw there was a red balloon floating over the officers, and it kind of, I guess, was like this symbol of hope or something for him. Like he knew that this was gonna
Was Pennywise
come back. Yeah.
or whatever the thing it was that presented himself. to
Yeah.
him.
And so then once he sees this red balloon again, he gets all excited and he starts causing quite the scene and making all the other patients go wild.
Yeah.
Basically
they're
like
like,
animals.
Yeah, and they're trying to make, telling him to calm down, and they end up escorting him back to his room and telling him to stay in there. He gets back in there, and he is, as he's walking, the balloon is following him, but when he gets to his room, it goes away, and it ends up being underneath his bed. But as soon as he's pulling on it, and he's trying to get it out from under the bed, but he can't really, and it's getting bigger, and it pops, and then we see Patrick from the first movie, who was his
There's
friend.
a little zombie corpse.
And he freaks him out at first, but then he gets up to him, and Henry recognizes him, and Patrick presents him with his knife that he had as a kid. So essentially, it's kind of like the unfinished business is the plan is back in action.
Yeah.
The gang's back together again.
Gang's back together. Time to kill these kids. And then basically we go over towards everyone arriving at the restaurant.
Yes.
They picked something Orient Express or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they're all arriving one by one. Who's there first? It was Mike and then Bill.
Mike and Bill, and then it was Eddie. And then it was Ben and Bev outside, and Richie was in there.
Yeah.
The last one, I believe.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And they're basically coming back together. They're saying, like, losers got to stick together. They're slowly remembering bits from their past.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's all coming back to them.
Like you said, Ben and Beverly were outside and they're kind of catching up, and she was like, new kid? And or he said, like, I'm the new kid, and she was like, oh my God, Ben. And then that's when Richie comes up and he's like, you two look amazing. What the fuck happened to me? Yeah. I love that line. Bill Hader's one of my favorite people on this planet.
Some great comedy.
I was a fan of Richie even more so.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's great casting.
It was. They did. I mean, Finn Wolfhard will look like Bill Hader when he grows up.
And they, and everyone else as well, very much matched their younger counterparts.
Mm-hmm.
And they
except for McAvoy.
And they were able to. You don't think he looked like Bill? I think he kind of looked like Bill could look like him.
I feel like younger Bill's face is too slender to then meet the build that McAvoy's face has. I still think there were bits of him that I saw, but he was the one that, for the most part, that I was like Eddie, spot on.
Mm-hmm.
Spot on.
Very much so.
And
Mike and
Mike.
Bev kind of looked like her a little bit, mostly the hair.
I was like, it helps that she had red hair.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it was other than that, the adults did a really good job at mimicking how the kids their mannerisms.
Oh, and McAvoy did a great job of that.
Yeah.
Too, especially with the stutter
and all that
and everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He did a phenomenal job as Bill. I just think that maybe he didn't I think he looked the most unlike his child counterpart out of them.
Did you hear that, casting? You fucked up.
You fucked right up.
You dropped the ball.
This is the official word
from Caitlin.
Now we hate this movie. 0 booze. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I liked this movie. Spoiler alert.
It's your favorite.
I do really like these films, even though they're so long.
Very long. But they end up, it's just like old times almost. They're having fun. They're really getting along. They're shooting the bull. They're all, Richie is doing his thing where he insults you and makes a joke at the same time, but everybody's laughing because it's funny anyways. And
basically your mama jokes too.
Yeah, a lot of F words and all that stuff. And they end up bringing up Stanley, and they're like, oh shit, where's Stanley? But at this point, I think that's whenever Bill and Bev start to talk about how it's really weird how everything's kind of coming back to them and how they forgot a lot of things that they feel like they should have remembered. And then that's whenever Mike is trying to explain that when they left town, they forgot a lot of things that, the good, but they also forgot the bad.
Yeah. Which he says the farther away, the hazier it all gets. But me, I never left. I remember all of it.
Mm-hmm. And it, especially being it.
They do a really good job of
segueing it in there. Yeah.
In there.
And then that's whenever Eddie is like, oh, Pennywise. No, someone else, Bev says Pennywise. And then Eddie's like, the fucking clown.
Yeah. And all of them start to slowly remember Pennywise. And
the fear immediately starts to go back into them.
Yeah. And they were talking about why they had such visceral reactions whenever they were getting a phone call. And that's when Mike brings up, he was like, it's fear. Fear is what you felt. That's why you reacted the way that you did. And that's when he goes into the line of I never left kind of stuff. But yeah, all of them start remembering Pennywise. And then Mike goes on to say, we might have changed it, but we didn't stop it. So unfortunately, that's why we're all back here again. Because it's killing innocent kids. And it's just exactly like it was 27 years ago. And we got to do something about it.
And they made a promise to each other, and they kind of don't. They're all starting to be like, no. We're getting out of here. You brought us here to die. You lied to us. You didn't tell us the truth. And before they can, really react even more so, the fortune cookies, they start to read them, right?
Yeah, they start opening them up one by one, and they realize they're like, this place doesn't know how to do fortune cookies.
Yeah.
Mine only says guess.
Yeah, it only has one word, each of them. Yeah.
And so they decide to start putting them all together
Like
a little puzzle. Yeah. And
a word scramble.
they finally come to, once Bev opens hers, and we see that she's already crying. It has Stanley's name on it, and all of the fortune cookies spell "Guess Stanley could not cut it," which was clever, but also sad.
But also, yeah. And so immediately they're like, "Oh shit, what the fuck?" Because they get what it means. But then the little fortune cookies start to turn into little monsters and little babies.
Weird little babies and
crab bodies
eyeballs
and bats and all kinds of things.
It was super weird.
And they're freaking out, and they're...
I would be too.
Mike is destroying a chair on top of a table, and then like the waitress comes in and is like, are y'all okay? And obviously it was fake. Well, not fake. It was real for them, but essentially it is playing games with them already, like they used to. And so
then Richie's just like, can we get the check, please?
Yeah.
Which I don't know why that was so funny to me.
And then, well, as we're walking out as well, Richie, they're all kind of like, oh man, like this is what it does. It's fucking with us already. And then Richie ends up getting, what's the word? Tugged on his jacket by a little kid, approached by a kid. And the kid says, the fun's just beginning. And
which does seem ominous.
And the way he was looking at him
after that situation just happened to me, I would have also freaked out.
And then he starts yelling at the kid, but then the kid has to be like, "Hey, I'm just a fan. That's part of your set. Don't you remember?" And he's ends up trying to like offer him a picture, but the kid's like, "I'm good. It's okay." He freaked him out. But that kid, we end up seeing that kid later, so that's why it's just kind of important that we bring him up.
It's good that we see him. And then Richie also admits that he doesn't write his own material, which I was like, really?
Yeah, he doesn't.
I feel like he would with how funny he was as a kid. I mean, granted, most of his jokes were pretty teenager. Yeah. So maybe it stops at that.
Or maybe he does try to write his own stuff, but the people he works for, the company, or I don't know,
just want
something
else from him.
Yeah. But unfortunately, as they're walking out, they're saying like, "Oh man, like it fucks with us." So none of that was real. But Bev ends up calling Stanley's house to try to get a hold of him so that they can make sure that like he's okay. But it ends up going to Stanley's wife, and she unfortunately informs them that Stan passed away the day before, and how it was horrible. And just as she's about to say that he died in the bathtub, Beverly says the bathtub before she does, which Ben notices, and then they're all kind of like, "Oh shit, like it's real, like crap." Yeah, and they're freaking out and they want to leave.
Happening, and it's kind of timing. They're all voting to leave basically, but also simultaneously wrestling with this like moral issue at hand of letting all these innocent children die and exactly how they felt 27 years ago, and trying to decide whether or not, they should stick around. But most of them, it was mainly Bill and Bev who were kind of left saying like, okay, well maybe we'll stick around. But everyone else was kind of like, fuck this shit, I'm out.
Did you know you could be putting oil and chemicals in your coffee? I love coffee creamer, but I don't think I've ever turned the bottle around to actually see what's inside. When I did, I found out many of my favorite creamers contain ingredients I would never intentionally add to my coffee cup, like canola oil, dipotassium phosphate, and artificial flavors. Laird Superfood all started when big wave surfer Laird Hamilton needed morning fuel that could allow him to spend the entire day chasing the ultimate wave. He couldn't find anything in the market that met his ingredient standards, so made himself the ultimate plant-based creamer. Laird Superfood started and launched its first product, Original Superfood Creamer, in 2015. Laird Superfoods contain no artificial flavors, colors, or additives, and no sugars from highly refined corn syrup. All Laird products are sustainably sourced and thoroughly tested to ensure that you're incorporating the cleanest, finest fuel into your routine. All Laird products are also made of all-natural whole food ingredients, and they are crafted from the highest quality all-natural real food ingredients. Are you ready to feel more energized, focused, and supported? Go to lairdsuperfood.com and add nourishing plant-based foods to fuel you from sunrise to sunset. Use our promo code BOO at checkout to save 15% off your purchase today.
I love smoothies, but I don't love smoothie bar prices. With my BlendJet 2 portable blender, I can make smoothie bar quality beverages for a fraction of the price. BlendJet 2 is portable, so you can blend up a smoothie at work, a protein shake at the gym, or even a margarita on the beach. It's small enough to fit in a cup holder, but powerful enough to blast through tough ingredients like ice and frozen fruit with ease. BlendJet 2 is whisper quiet, so you can make your morning smoothie without waking the whole house. Lasts for 15 plus blends and recharges quickly via USB-C. Best of all, BlendJet 2 cleans itself. Just blend water with a drop of soap and you're good to go. There are also over 30 plus colors to choose from. I myself chose black because it matches the color of my soul. What are you waiting for? Go to blendjet.com and grab yours today. And be sure to use the promo code BOO12 to get 12% off your order and free 2-day shipping. No other portable blender on the market comes close to this quality, power, and innovation of the BlendJet 2. They guarantee you'll love it or your money back. Blend anytime, anywhere with the BlendJet 2 portable blender. Go to blendjet.com and use the code BOO12 to get 12% off your order and free 2-day shipping. Shop today and get the best deal ever.
Never to go to the bathroom in this building again.
Why not?
It's just so scary. I had to go down a flight of stairs to get to the ladies, but the light was off downstairs. Like that floor was no longer in use for today. And so I was just like heading down into pitch blackness.
Oh my God.
Just darkness. And then I like had to flip the switch on. But of course, like the bathroom lights were off too. And just this whole building feels haunted.
Did you pee in the dark?
No, I switched the light on. They were weird.
Okay.
They were like buttons. They weren't like a light flip.
Yeah, they're like old school buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I had to do that. But then like the whole time I was like, ugh. And then of course we've just been recording this movie. So I was like, I swear to God, a fucking clown pops up behind me. I was washing my hands. I was like so scared looking in the mirror.
I want to go now.
And then once I had to, cause then I was like, well, I have to flip the light back off for this hallway. So then, it's like that when you're running up from the basement, but you feel like something's behind you. That's what
so
it felt like
scary.
running up the stairs. I was like,
that fear, that happens to me all the time though.
yeah. I don't,
Especially in the dark.
not a fan of, I have to have my light on in my stairwell.
Some kind of light, a little ambiance.
Yeah, at least like
keep
my
the spookies away.
At least have my phone light on, and also to make sure I don't trip and die.
And hurt yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
OMG.
important too.
Well, don't ever go to the restroom here again.
Yes, we're in a new building, by the way.
Yeah.
Rogue Media just moved, and so now we're in a nice new fancy building.
Yeah.
The Alico building. If you're in Waco,
And you know where that is? This is where we be.
it's like Waco's one thing.
It's really tall. We're at the highest
21st floor
21st floor
out of 22.
But just like our fear that Caitlin experienced, that's what we would experience if you were being chased by Pennywise the clown. And so are you okay?
Yeah, I laughed
At my
but
segue?
choked. Yeah, but choked on my beer simultaneously.
And so we are back at the inn that everyone is checked into. Everybody's Bev goes to get a drink because she needs a quick shot of something hard, like a whiskey. Richie and Eddie go upstairs because they want to pack, because they want to leave. They want to get out of there. And at this point, we have Ben and Bev talking about just what. Oh yeah, we're talking. He's asking her how she knew that yes,
That Stan died.
yeah,
But did we talk about Victoria following the Firefly at the baseball game?
Yeah, we're about to.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
I have
Or did I jump?
confronting Bev about how she. My notes might be out of the way.
No, you're good. But yes, we do have the little girl at
Okay.
the baseball game.
Phew. I like this scene, so
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to talk
Oh
about
no,
it.
yeah, she's the little girl at the baseball field. Go take it away.
So we have Victoria, and who's the little girl who got the stuffed plushie from Adrian at the beginning, which we didn't talk about, but she gets a plushie from Adrian at the beginning, and she's got the same plushie with her at this baseball game, but she's bored because
Because it's a baseball game.
the baseball game. And so it's a child's baseball game at that. So especially boring.
Yeah.
But she finds this firefly, and it kind of leads her down under the bleachers, and then it kind of goes way back into, I don't know what this little area would be.
I think Pennywise made it up.
Oh, just
But-
like a little dark extra room.
Yeah, because I don't think bleachers do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's too much light coming in. Like that was like he's doing.
He
that.
made it
Yeah,
dark.
Yeah, he made
Yeah.
it like that. Yeah.
And he catches the firefly,
Yes.
and then he's basically saying like, what was her name? Vicky.
Victoria.
It was Victoria, but he called her like
Something. Some pet name.
Yeah, and he was like, "That's what your friends call you, right?" And she was like, "You're not my friend. You're scary." And because you're not
You're in
my
the
friend,
dark.
you're in the dark. Yeah. And then she kind of starts walking off, and Pennywise is like, "Well, fuck."
You're crying.
Yeah, he starts crying, and he makes up this sob story about how no one likes to look at him and hang out with him, like he was in the dark, so that way maybe she would be his friend because people like to make fun of his appearance. And Victoria had a birthmark on her face that
Not me thinking it was face paint.
Yeah.
At the beginning.
I thought it was too
Not
at the
face paint.
beginning
It was a beauty
at the
mark.
fair because I mean that's kind of standard
It's like
too
what
at
kids do.
fairs.
Yeah, that's why I thought it
Yeah.
was, but no, it's a beauty mark.
Yep.
And she looks beautiful with it.
She does. And but Pennywise really plays into her insecurities, and then
He
gets
offers
her,
to remove it.
Yeah, gets her to come back by saying, "Yeah, I can get rid of that for you. Just 1, 2, 3, poof, and it'll be gone." And then
He's really creepy at this point too.
yeah, he is because also I love the way Pennywise just basically starts salivating at every single kid. It's so terrifying, just the amount of drool that drips from his mouth.
He's satiating.
Yeah, it's like "Ugh."
He wants to eat these little kiddos.
He does. And
Pennywise is a predator. Should
He
be on
is.
every list.
every single list. That's right. But he then starts counting and he says 1, 2, 3. He likes to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop. No, I'm just kidding. He says 2, and then he just kind of, she's not looking at him because she's holding her cheek to him. And
She's waiting
but
for some magic to happen.
if she was looking at him, she would have been freaked out because his face just kind of goes like dead. And then he starts drooling quite a bit. And then she goes, "You're supposed to say 3.
But
and
before
then
she can even get that out,
he just
yeah, starts
chomps
munching
right
at
on her
Just like
face.
he usually does.
Yeah.
The way his mouth opens up, it's like a snake. It like
It
unhinges.
is.
It's pretty scary.
It reminds me of like the sandworms from Beetlejuice
Oh yeah.
and the way those are.
I can see that.
Is
But
that what they're called?
unfortunately,
Are they called sandworms?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know Beetlejuice like that.
But those
I've seen
little-
it, but
Yeah, everyone knows what I'm talking about.
but I know visually. Unfortunately for little Vicky, she's a goner. She's dead. She is taken out. And I guess mom isn't or is going to notice. I don't know. But also,
Doesn't notice yet.
you know, the parents and the adults also have that thing where it's like they ignore what's going on because of Pennywise and his magic. But we're their magic. And
Yeah.
so now we're back with
Bev and Ben and all of the
I think
crew.
before that, doesn't Henry Bowers break free?
Oh, yes, maybe.
We get a quick thing of Henry at the asylum, and he ends up
He's like,
stabbing one of
Bye.
the dudes and then
oh, yeah.
bouncing out. And it's
Oh,
funny because
duh.
the what's his name, Patrick, is like a zombie just like driving and
Driving
taking
him
off.
around.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have that right here. I just skipped it.
you're good. But so yeah, he's on the loose and he's coming for them. We know that much. But now, yes, we're back with Bev and the gang, and she's explaining to them how she knew how Stanley died.
Yep. And she says, because I saw it, she said, I've seen all of us die. Every night I have these nightmares of all of us dying. And I'm assuming she must not have really known who these people were,
Maybe
having
yeah.
dreams about them.
That's
and
true.
then now seeing all their faces,
seemed
she's
random.
like, oh, fuck, I've seen all of you die. And then back even at the beginning, whenever
She woke up.
yeah, from the deadlights and stuff. And Stan was like, how do I look? And she was like, the same, but taller. But I think she already knew even then that he was going to die.
That's true.
Yeah.
You think she saw the visions then as well?
Yeah.
She could have.
Because she said she saw all of us back in the cistern and stuff fighting it. We were older and stuff like that. And so I'm assuming she must have known Stanley was missing. And so maybe she didn't see
never
him
thought of it
die
like that.
yet, but
Or maybe he just wasn't in the vision. She didn't think like he's not dead. He just wasn't there.
yeah. And maybe that's why she gave that answer.
But yeah, and so they are she's explaining how she saw them all die, and they're like, what, how does that? And then I think they explain how she's the one who saw the deadlights, and I don't know if you like any of those.
Yellow.
And so they end up coming to the determination that because she saw the deadlights, she has been more exposed to Pennywise, and that's why she's having these visions. And then they also start to talk about how they will all die in this way and not live past the next 20 years unless they end up stopping it now, because this is their chance. And essentially because of what they did and getting close to it in the past, they have like a cancer inside them that's going to kill them eventually.
Yeah. There's something that's coming for them. And then we flash to Mike, right? At the library where he basically, well, not where he basically lives, where he does live. And then as soon as I couldn't remember, because it's been a hot second since I've seen this movie, but I was like, does he drug him right now?
And right now they're talking of, did I pass that? Hold on, my bad. Yeah, you're right. My notes, I jumped up ahead.
Oh, you did? Do we need to go back?
No, my throat just dried out at the same time. No, you were good. I got ahead of myself. But yes, you're right. He does drug him.
Yeah,
with like
I couldn't
peyote
remember.
or an ayahuasca type of
Yeah,
thing,
something along
microdoses
those.
him.
Yeah. And I couldn't remember though, and I was like, does he drug him? And then I was like, oh, he did.
Does.
But Mike's basically explaining to him, all the while the drugs are starting to hit Bill,
kick in,
that he knows how to kill the shit out of it. And then he says the thing which does kind of let us know how to defeat it in the end. All living things must abide by the laws of the shape it inhabits, which I really like that line.
Yeah.
I think it's good.
It's very much like a liquid has to fit in whatever shape it is in.
Yeah.
And so it's a ritual, or that this whole, Bill is watching this whole ritual type of thing happening in like a vision type of situation. You can tell he's really tripping out. And then that's whenever I believe he comes back out of it, and Mike was, trying to explain, like, it's the only way that you could see, and I can explain to you, how to defeat it. And at this point, I think I got ahead. This is whenever they go back to the hotel, and Bev is explaining to them, like, how she saw them all die.
Oh, I had that in my notes up above it.
Really?
Yeah, I think you weren't ahead. I think you were right.
Okay. Well, somehow they're all back together again.
Yeah. And and basically Bill saw it arrive over the valley and appeared to the people as a monster. And it's called the ritual of
Chud.
Chud.
Not crud. My bad.
Or I think he says chewed almost, but it looks like chud. It's CHUD.
He says it later, and it's chud.
Chud. Okay. I thought he said it a little fancier.
No, it's chud.
But he's basically explaining that this won't work without all of us.
Yeah.
And then, yes. Okay. What basically, then we're back with the group, and Bev is saying what she sees will come to pass unless we stop it. She said none of them make it another 20 years max.
Yep.
So
it's pretty sad.
Yeah. Basically, they have to do this or they're going to die. And
we transition to Mike taking them to the clubhouse.
Yeah. And also on the shelf behind Richie, as he was at the bar, there was clowns on the shelf behind him. And because I had paused it at that point to go get something. And then I was like, there's clowns on the shelf.
There's a lot of Easter eggs about the home movie.
Yeah. But yeah, so then they're basically saying they don't have much time left and his cycle will end soon. And if it does, we're fucked. So I'm sorry, I just burped right into the mic.
I didn't hear it.
Really?
You gave yourself away.
Good. Well, not good that I gave myself away, but good that you couldn't hear it. But yeah, they find their old clubhouse basically.
We go to this really cute memory of them as kids where Ben was introducing them to the clubhouse for the first time. And we have all of them being themselves. And it's like a really cute, 5-minute, you have Richie being an asshole. You have Eddie being like a hypochondriac. You have Stanley being his nerdy self. and they're all kind of, like giving Ben a hard time, but Ben's basically just trying to be like, like I built this for us, like, it's just a place for us to hang out. He's being like really sweet the way he is.
Oh yeah.
And we see that Eddie's got the little ping pong, paddle ball?
Yeah, paddleball.
Mm-hmm. He ends up breaking it, and then that's whenever we have Eddie like in his adult version picking it up. So it's just really cool to see how like
they transition from younger to older.
Oh yeah, even when Bev was coming down into it, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was cool. They did a great job of flipping in between the two. But basically they're down there and they find that they realize that they're going to have to find these artifacts or little tokens from their past. And they basically all went down there to find Stanley's artifact, which ended up being the hairnets to protect their heads from little spiders. Which is really clever. Yeah, because I wouldn't want a spider in my hair.
Richie's like, I'm not gonna wear that. None of us are afraid of spiders. And then he like turns around and
everyone's putting them on. He was like, I stand corrected.
Hilarious.
It was really funny.
But yes, and it's very important that they all have to find these on their own. They can't do it together. They need to split up, even though everybody is like, that's a bad idea.
That's a really bad idea.
But they have
statistically speaking.
Yeah, because they were like, we were together that summer, but then Bill points out like, no, after the fight, there was a time where they all kind of spent at least a good 2 weeks apart from each other.
Yeah, did things on their own. And basically they're realizing that they're going to have to sacrifice pieces from their past.
Yeah.
And so then we basically embark on this journey of finding their artifact with each one of them. And so we go to Bev with her going to her old house, which is one of my favorite scenes in the film. I recently mentioned it inside, what was that movie called that we just covered? Oh, where they smile.
Smile. Yeah. Yes, because she looked kind of like
reminded me of that demon.
Yeah, she goes to her old apartment building complex, and she ends up going in. She brings a door that she thinks says Marsh, but it ends up saying Kirsch. But the old lady opens the door, and she's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry to tell you, but your dad is dead. But the least I could do, let you in and get you some cookies and milk."
Yep. What an old lady thing to say. Oh, I had some cookies in the oven before you got here.
For real. I love how whenever
old lady sound.
And then and Bev is like trying to like, deny the stuff. She's like, stop being polite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She snapped on her real fast. I was like, oh, okay, Granny.
Bev is in there, of course, as the old lady is getting like a pot of boiling water ready. Bev goes and sneaks away to her old bedroom, and she ends up like getting a floorboard undone. And these roaches come out of it. Not a floorboard, but when you're just like crown molding, and roaches come out, and she ends up finding a little plastic bag that has her cigarettes, a postcard, and there was something else in there, like a little necklace or something.
Yeah, it was her necklace with the key on it that she wore all the time as a kid. And then also, while all that is happening, we flash back to her as a kid having this flashback moment with her father, which you mentioned last week. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that's exactly what happens in the second film.
Yeah.
And it is.
Yeah.
Basically, Bev's father was saying she did what she did. Like, she'd still be alive if it wasn't for you. She did what she did because she was embarrassed to be your mother. And you're nothing like her. And then, like, sprays her perfume all over Bev and stuff. And it's, like, so creepy.
Starts holding her all odd-like.
Yeah. Hugging her and stuff.
Makes her say she'll always be his little girl.
Yeah. Fucking weird and twisted, but it's exactly what you mentioned last week.
Yeah. So I must have got them confused. And so they end up, she ends up getting all of her things and her token. And when she comes back out, the old lady is telling her to sit down, right?
Telling her to sit down, and they're just talking. And she was like, oh, how's it like to be back in Derry? Like, I'm sorry your father died. And she said, but you know what they say about Derry? No one who dies here ever really dies.
Yep.
And then she just sits there with that blank face,
staring at her
for a second.
And Bev also thinks that's weird.
Yeah, because it is.
And then she's like talking to her more about it, and she like is talking about how hot it is, and then like unflaps her dress, and you see like these sores on her chest, and Bev is like, ew.
Icky.
And after that, we see her. Oh, that's whenever the little ding goes off, and she's like, "Let me go get the cookies." And so Bev ends up getting up. She's looking at the wall. She sees all these pictures of like old family shit going on. And that's whenever the old lady is explaining that her family settled there a long time ago. Her dad had only $14. He didn't ask for any
and we
handouts.
already saw the old lady acting creepy behind Bev
that's
whenever she got the thing. We saw her like
her body dancing, jigging a little bit.
Yeah.
And she also sounds like her voice is not very old lady like in a way, if that makes sense at this point. But she's talking to Bev, and then Bev ends up seeing the picture of her father, who was a clown who joined the circus, and he was Pennywise.
And right as she sees that picture, we get to see this little old lady shuffling past naked behind her. She's just like
Doing a cha-cha.
and it's so fucking creepy.
Yeah.
That, like, I remembered the big lady being a lot scarier than she was in this instance. But
now-
that bit, just her shuffling past naked, fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely not. That's what I was afraid I'd see behind me in the bathroom
She
mirror.
moves her body very unhuman-like. Yeah. And
Hate
then she's talking to Bev, and then Bev is either asked a question or I don't know how it segues, but then she's like,
The old lady says,
I was his little
I
good
was
girl.
always daddy's little girl.
Yeah.
And then she says, are you still daddy's little girl?
And it's I love how you hear her little pitter patter running before you see her come out of the dark.
Yeah.
And then chasing after Bev.
And her footsteps do sound very large,
Yeah.
like she could come kill her.
And she ends up chasing her throughout the apartment, and then Bev is able to get to the front door, but she can't get out, and she ends up seeing this dude all the way at the end of the hallway, and
Old
it's
school Pennywise.
old school Pennywise, yeah, putting on his makeup, and he's talking to her, basically being like, "You can't save any of them. I'm gonna kill all of them, and I'm gonna kill you too." And
You haven't changed anything yet.
Mhm.
Close your eyes to see.
Yeah, you should just join me in death. Yeah,
I
basically.
loved this scene of,
Bill Skarsgård.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
old school Pennywise like this, without all of the like practical effects and stuff, like just slapping the makeup on his face
Yeah.
and the way that his eyes were just like,
And then when he cuts his
yeah,
little
so good.
scars, yeah,
Loved it.
pretty freaky.
Was
My
a big fan.
bad. But then she's able, thankfully, to get out. And she
Sees that the building is abandoned.
yeah, that's right. The whole time it was
the
like
place
decrepit.
was like condemned.
There was nobody ever in there, and the whole time she was seeing all that shit. It
Yep.
was like Pennywise's
Pennywise the
magic.
whole time.
And she ends, which also is just like, was she just sitting on like dilapidated furniture,
Yeah, she
and then
must
just,
have
like,
been.
quiet the whole time, just like yeah, that's
Had
wild.
no idea.
And so now we meet up with Richie at the arcade.
Yep.
And he is there. That's when we see he has a flashback of a memory when he was hanging out with Henry Bauer's cousin, and he's having fun with
Which
him, and he doesn't
Is
want him to
Richie
leave.
gay?
Yeah. Mhm.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, basically, and he was in love with Eddie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Cool.
In love with Eddie.
I just was
He
like,
was
I hope
gay.
that's what it was, but
Has a secret.
didn't
yeah,
want
for some
to
reason he
assume.
wasn't at peace with his sexuality yet as an adult or at this point, and back then as well. But yes, and then he gets called out, by Henry the bully.
Yeah.
And he's calling him is it the
F
F slur?
slur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he ends up running out, and he's like crying on the bench. But at this point we see that he got visited by Pennywise in the whatchamacallit, the park.
Town square
Town
kind
Square,
of thing.
yeah.
With
And there's
Paul
this big-
Bunyan.
there's this tall lumberjack
Yeah.
statue that ends up getting animated and chasing after him, and
Pretty terrifying.
trying to was it like a
Axe him.
pickaxe? Yeah. And so he ends up, basically shitting himself. He's so scared. And then as he's remembering all of this whole memory, the adult Richie is then looking at the lumberjack, and he sees what's his
Pennywise.
name? Pennywise. He
On
calls
top
out to
of
him
him.
and he's like, "Hi, Richie. Like, I know your secret, and I'm going to tell everybody your secret, the secret that you don't want anybody to know." And it's just basically antagonizing him and trying to scare him, which is working because Richie is like freaking out.
Yeah,
And then
because
all
then everyone behind him is being
clowns
like,
and clown
I
makeup,
know
yeah.
your secret. Ba, 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 da, ba.
Yeah.
And they're all chanting behind him. At this point in the
Oh,
movie,
we did see Adrian, like that dead Adrian guy, give him
Yeah.
like a thing of his
Pretty
funeral.
Boy or something, or call him
Mm-hmm.
something.
Yeah.
At this point, Andrew asked, why doesn't anyone just try to slap Pennywise?
Right?
And I was like, because Pennywise was getting like really close up into Richie's face.
Yeah.
And he was like, why didn't anyone just slap him? And I was
Yeah.
like, that's not how it works.
That's not how it works. Yeah. He creates such a fear in you that you can't do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was funny to me.
But I mean, eventually they do end up, being able to, we see it. But yeah, I think in those moments, they're still just so like terrified and they're still getting refreshed to the memory of who Pennywise was that they're like, fuck.
They're like,
this is scary.
they're
as fuck.
basically reverted back to
They're
their
kids,
childhood
yeah.
self.
Kids
Yeah.
again, like a deer in
And they're
headlights.
terrified.
And so he ends up, I guess we should have mentioned that he did get a token at the arcade before he ended up
A
running
literal
out. Yeah,
token.
a little token traded, which also I was like, how does this place still have electricity for it to have done that for him?
Yeah,
the coin
considering
machine.
it's condemned.
Yeah, and it was all dusty, but okay. And so it's funny too because throughout we realize later why, but because it's basically a trap, but they're getting all of their tokens from Pennywise.
Yeah.
He's basically just giving them like
Here
through
you
those
go.
memories and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's so they end up
He's just fucking with them
Yeah.
all along.
it transitions over to Bill, and Bill ends up being downtown and he
Almost
sees
gets
his
hit by a car.
he does, yeah, because he's not paying attention. And then he sees his bike in the window
Yep.
across the street. And
His
so
old bike, silver something.
he ends up going in. The shop owner is Stephen King himself.
That's right.
And he ends up recognizing Bill as the book writer and author. And he's like, you want that bike? You can buy it. You're rich. I'll sell it to you for $300.
Which was
Yeah.
an
Which I was like, I would have said like 5,000.
exorbitant price.
I would have
yeah.
said 5,000 though.
Yeah,
I don't
would have
know.
gone way over.
Right? Because he
Mm.
can afford it. But Bill is also explaining that this was his
Not if
bike.
he can't sell any movie rights because no one likes the ending.
Right. And also Stephen King's character here is making fun at, or not poking fun, but also commenting like, your endings are bad. Like, because
Yeah.
even Bill is like, do you want me to autograph the book? And he's like, nah, I didn't like the ending.
Didn't like the ending.
But Bill is explaining to him like how this was his bike when he was a kid, and so that's why he wants it. And so he ends up taking it, and it doesn't ride that well at first, but he kind of gets the swing of it.
It was really
going.
funny when
Yeah.
he was trying to ride his old bike, like the whole
A little
handlebars
janky.
going down and stuff. I was like, I don't know if this bike is gonna get you anywhere, Bill.
Silver hi ho, and he's like riding it.
Hey-o.
So the
But then he rides past his old house.
yes, he rides past his old house, and it kind of triggers the memory in him of whenever he watched what's his name, Georgie, walk out that last fateful day before he died.
Yep,
And we do see that the new kid from the beginning of the movie is living there.
exactly.
And what's his name? Bill rides his bike off, and he comes to the
Drain where Georgie disappeared.
and he starts to yell into it, and he's like a memory of, he doesn't yell into it, my bad, we get a memory when he was a kid, and he's riding there too, and he's talking to the drain, asking Pennywise like, why did you take my brother?
Out of all the kids in Derry, you could have taken why Georgie?
And it's so fucked up how Pennywise was like, because you weren't
Why?
there.
Because you weren't there, Billy.
Yeah. And this really upsets Bill, and then Bill is like the adult literal Bill is there now, and he ends up getting
Called
hearing
out to by Georgie.
and it makes him go closer, and he ends up putting his arms in there to try to get Georgie
I
out.
know. I was like, oh God, we've been here before. I was like,
was like,
don't put your
no.
arms in there.
But he starts getting
I thought
pulled
Georgie
in,
was gonna go
right
on
by,
his arm.
by all these little like hand thingies,
Yeah, tiny little baby hands,
Mhm.
little baby hands
and
pulling him in.
it's almost got him all the way in, but he's able to break himself free and out of it. But at the same time, he gets a yellow boat. That was the boat that he made.
For Georgie. So it was his little token.
That was his token.
Got his token handed to him from Pennywise.
Right. And then, after this, he does end up seeing that little boy that lives at the house coming close to the storm drain. And he's like, hey, don't you ever listen to any voices that come out of there, and the boy has to be like, I don't hear any voices out of storm drains. I hear them out of my
tub.
And he's like,
In the drain.
And then Bill has to be like, do you hear kids? Like, do you hear a clown? And then he's like yelling at him, and he's like, you need to tell your parents to get out of town, make up a lie. I don't care.
Get out of Derry right now.
And the little boy's like, I have to be at the festival. He's totally
like,
freaked out. You're like the second adult
told
who's
me
yelled
not
at me.
to talk to strangers.
Literally.
I'm gonna go away.
And he's the second adult to yell at him.
Yeah,
in like a day.
exactly. From the same friend group. And then we're with Ben
Ben is at the school.
for his artifact, and we come across young Ben alone in a classroom.
Yeah.
Or not alone, like class had just let out, and
some
people,
bullies end up leaving. They call him a name or something like that.
Yeah, they really prey on. They really fat shame him.
Yeah.
And it's bad.
They end up being jerks to him. He is left in the classroom by himself, and we see what we think is Pennywise, but it's Bev, and she is. But there's a reason why we see the silhouette of Pennywise. But anyways, it's quote unquote Bev, and she's talking to him. She's like smoking in the classroom. She's making him feel like he's got a friend in her, because he's like, I don't feel like we're gonna be the same after the fight. And she's like, I'll hang out with you, just us. And then he ends up leaning to like give her a kiss, and she's like, whoa, I just made us friends. Yeah. And she ends up being like, I would never like the fat something whatever.
Yeah.
And we learn very quickly that is not Bev, and Bev would never say any of those things.
Bev would never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing?
This scene is just so funny to me. Whenever her head catches fire and she's like, your hair is winter fire.
Yeah. With the cigarette.
Fucking hilarious.
She goes in flames. It's very on the nose. Yes.
Jet your hammers.
And she is in a blaze, and she's running after him. And it is very, it's very CGI, so it looks very fake. But she's running after him.
Oh, I mean, I don't even have an issue with how it looked. It just was
just
so funny to me because her head's on fire, and then she's just like,
I thought it was
because
terrifying.
It's literal, like your hair is winter fire.
Mm-hmm. And then she's screaming it, and he's running away.
Yeah, it was so funny.
Poor Ben.
Poor Ben. Yeah, no, I would shit a brick if I saw that in real life. Oh my god.
And it makes it so bad because he ends up putting himself in the locker that he used to get shoved into, I'm assuming, whenever he would get bullied.
I know,
That's how scared he is.
Because his locker was also defaced.
All over and,
yeah.
He ends up getting in there and hiding, but Pennywise.
The poster behind me scared.
I thought that was
going
to do something. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be
they
like.
They probably did that
blah,
intentional.
blah. Yeah.
But it's a fake out because Pennywise ends up being in there. Well, I mean,
Kiss
he
me,
does.
fat boy.
Yeah, I know. He does end up getting his token though before Pennywise scares him, and it's a yearbook.
He had that in his wallet all along.
Oh, that's right.
He didn't need to go anywhere for it.
Did he not pull it out at this point though, or something?
I think he did pull it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was in his wallet. He had it the whole
time. And so he ends up seeing Pennywise next to him. Pennywise says, "Do it again."
Kiss me, fat boy.
And he ends up jumping out of the locker, trying to get away from Pennywise. And thankfully, at this point, I think he ends up snapping out of it. Or is Pennywise...
He runs into a janitor.
That's right, yeah.
And then the janitor's like, "What the fuck, kid?"
And
he's like,
normal.
whoa.
Yeah, he's out of the fantasy, the dream,
yeah,
the nightmare. And so at this point, we're back with Bev at the hotel. And I think
and
that's
awkward because she thinks it's Bill.
Yeah, because she's talking to Ben, and she thinks that it's Bill who wrote the poem, and then Ben's like, oh my god, not again. But at the same time,
me, Ben.
Did you know that dehydration is the leading cause of daytime fatigue? I was shocked to learn that even mild dehydration can cause headaches, muscle weakness, and brain fog. But luckily, there's a solution. Cure Hydration is an oral rehydration solution that contains the perfect balance of electrolytes and glucose to help your body absorb water and rehydrate quickly. The formula is made with all natural ingredients like coconut water, powder, and pink Himalayan salt, and is free from artificial flavors, sweeteners, and preservatives. Cure Hydration is vegan, gluten-free, and non-GMO, making it a great option for anyone with dietary restrictions or preferences. The packets are convenient and easy to use. Just mix with water and drink. They're perfect for on the go, travel, or anytime you need a quick and effective hydration boost. Hydration is more than just drinking water. That's what Lauren Picasso, a lifelong endurance athlete, discovered as she struggled to stay hydrated no matter how much water she drank. Lauren founded Cure, a science-backed electrolyte drink mixed to make hydrating easy for everyone. Cure believes that hydration should be simple and effective, but also clean and natural. That's why they use only the highest quality plant-based ingredients and avoid any artificial or harmful additives. They're committed to transparency and honesty. All of their ingredients are clearly listed on their website and packaging, and they're always happy to answer any questions or concerns. Ready to combat dehydration? Try Cure today and feel the difference for yourself. Use code BOO for 20% off your order.
Are you tired of the same old boring puzzles? Mix things up with Wongo puzzles. Each puzzle is a custom design with intricate patterns and whimsical shapes that will keep you engaged for hours. Plus, their eco-friendly materials and commitment to sustainability make Wongo puzzles a guilt-free way to unwind. Wongo puzzles are 100% wooden puzzles, meaning they'll last forever. Each piece is hand-drawn, so no two pieces are the same, and you'll discover some fun, whimsy pieces as you work through it. They come in a custom wooden box, which is perfect for storage and gifting. With stunning design and unique shapes, Wongo puzzles are a cut above the rest. So what are you waiting for? Go to wongopuzzles.com and pick your puzzle today. And be sure to use the promo code BOO and get 10% off of your order. This is the most fun you've had with a puzzle guaranteed or your money back. Go to Wongo, WONGO, puzzles.com and use the code BOO to get 10% off your order and get puzzling right now. Wongo.
We do cut to Eddie at the pharmacy, and he's trying to get his prescription. We see that the old pharmacist that was being a creep in the first movie is still creepy and weird, and he's
alive.
like poking at Eddie's face and being like, that could be cancer, but
Ew,
it could be
and
not.
his little tongue.
So gross.
It looked like a little lizard.
Yeah, it was really gross and scaby and fleshy. And then we have Eddie having his own encounter with a memory whenever he was a kid, and he hears his mom calling out to him, beckoning to him from
like
the basement,
basement
of this pharmacy, which was also really weird because it looks like the creepy pharmacist was also murdering people in his spare time.
Yeah, with the amount of syringes
and all of that. It was really weird. There was something shady going on that was unrelated to it.
Yeah.
To Pennywise. But he's down there and his mom is calling for him. He sees her. She ends up being behind this sheet and she's like strapped to like a doctor's chair and she needs help from him because.
Have you ever been strapped to one of those?
No.
I have. It's terrifying.
I don't think. Yeah.
One time I shoved a BB down my ear as a kid.
Yeah.
And
from a pellet gun, like a BB gun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a little pink BB. And we went to a place to try to get it flushed out of my ear at first, and that it wouldn't come out. And so then I had to go to this second place. I think it was like the ER or something. They wouldn't let I was 5.
Okay.
They wouldn't let my mom come back with me. And they were trying to put these giant tweezers down my ear. Well, they seemed giant to me. They were probably like normal sized tweezers, but they looked like at least 2 feet long to me. Yeah. And I kept yanking them out of my ear. So then they strapped me to this table and they strapped my head.
They should have put you in a straitjacket.
They really, they basically did.
Yeah.
They strapped my arms. My head was strapped sideways to the table so that way they could get the thing into my ear. And then the previous place had given me this terrifying little cloth doll. And they were like, look at the dolly, trying to distract me. And I was like, this is terrifying. And my mom couldn't be there.
To the doctor's little kid, that's so scary.
Goodness, it was traumatizing. I still remember it like it was yesterday.
That's crazy. Oh,
but
do you know,
that's what it was like to be strapped to one of those.
I have this memory of being at the hospital when I was a kid, but I'm not even so totally sure that it is a memory or if like it's a dream that I think is a memory. You know what I mean?
I hate when that happens.
Do you know those kinds of things?
Yeah.
Like I have this very vivid memory or dream, or I don't know, of me going to the doctor at one point when I was a kid, but it's too long of a story. I'll have to talk about it another time.
I need to know.
But I'll bring it up.
Give me the abridged version.
Went to the doctor for tummy ache reasons, middle of the night. Parents drove me, but then like I was left alone for a while. I don't know. I don't remember. I feel like I got lost because I think like my dad went to go do something and my mom had to fill out paperwork, but my dad like went to the cafeteria or something. But then I was scared as a little kid, and probably 2 minutes was actually what felt like 2 hours was actually only 2 minutes. So I got up to go to try to find them, but I got lost. but I don't know if
And it
it's
must have been
real.
like basically a hospital like we always see in horror movies where it's
Yeah, nobody's there, and there's like nobody.
the dim lights are
literally.
flickering. Ugh,
So I don't know, but I was really young, so I don't know. I don't remember.
maybe.
I don't ask about it.
Yeah, ask him about it. Be
I
like, did
guess.
you ever abandon me in a
Did I
hospital?
ever go to the hospital? Did I dream all of that? And so we end up with oh yeah, that's right. There's Eddie's trying to save his mom from the leper, who's the same one from the first movie chapter, and it's so funny because he's trying to get her free, and then whenever he can't get her, he's like, "I'm sorry, I can't do it. Sorry,
I'm
mom."
leaving you, Mom. Bye.
Yeah. But he ends up getting attacked by the leper, and it's funny because he ends up being able to choke it, but as he's choking him, he ends because he's making the leper or it feel small, it ends up like puking all over him and in his mouth, and it's pretty gross.
And it's pretty gross whenever he shoves his finger in the
Oh.
leper's eye too.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And then when the leper puts his tongue, puts his tongue in the mom's mouth.
Yeah, like
pretty gross. Yeah.
icky.
But unfortunately for Eddie, for some reason, it's weird because like whenever they are, well, the lumberjack, it wasn't real, right? And that was when they were kids. I don't know, but it's funny because it's just that it's poor Eddie because he ends up always being the one like has shit thrown up on him or whatever.
Yeah.
And dirt or whatever. I guess because that's what he hates the most, but none of the other people have like real stuff thrown on them.
Except for Bev whenever she
Oh,
was
the
a
blood,
kid with
right?
the blood. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Okay. But it's weird though too how like some things are real and some things are not real, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
when does Pennywise choose to?
Okay, but I digress.
Maybe it has to do with the level of fear that they have.
That's true.
Also, maybe not. I don't know.
The world may never know. But yeah, so at this point we do have Bill and
That was a good callback.
Bill.
I'm sorry that took me a second.
No, you're good. What's a good callback?
Oh, the Three Licks Get to Center Tootsie Roll Tootsie
Oh.
Pop. The world may never know.
I didn't even.
Oh,
Put
that was
that
a good
together.
unintentional
My
callback.
And then we are back at the hotel. Bill ends up meeting back with Bev, and that's whenever we see that they kind of have a moment real quick. They remember when they kissed when they were a kid, and then they kiss in real life. And at this point, I was thinking, like, wait, does Ben come down and witness this? Because, like, it would happen. Because, like,
Yeah, I know. Because
But-
apparently later on, there was like this scene of Ben
watching them when they were kids. Yeah, at the
Yeah.
end of the movie, whenever he was
and I was
leaving
like, I
them.
thought he left.
Yeah, but apparently we saw him. We didn't see that he was crying, which did make
Yeah.
sense because he like loved her so much. But he was like, "Damn, Bill wins her heart." Whatever, I don't know. But
She wants me to be Bill.
yeah. And so he ends up. They end up kissing. Sorry. And then at this point, we have a skateboard coming down the stairs, and that's whenever we do have it saying you weren't there for him either. And so Bill puts two and two together that it's talking about the kid, and so he wants to go save the kid. At the same time, also I forgot to mention that Bill had asked like, where's everyone else at? And Richie was there, but he was wanting to leave, so Ben went up to go and convince him to stay. At this point, Eddie hasn't arrived yet, but he comes in shortly, or no, he comes in right before Bill got there, sorry, and that's whenever he's up there as well trying to get showered and changed up. But
And as we see Bill getting there, or Richie, or Eddie,
it's whenever Bill is leaving.
we see Henry's car out
Mhm.
there.
Oh yeah, you're right, my bad. Richie is trying to leave, you're right.
Yeah, because Richie slips out the back door,
Mhm, mhm.
and we see Henry's car out there. That's
Yeah.
what it was.
And then we see whenever what's his name goes upstairs, Eddie, and he's in his restroom and he's like trying to wash the stuff off of him. What's his name? Henry pops up from
Fucking
behind
Henry.
him and like stabs him in the fucking cheek, which looks pretty gnarly.
Right, yeah, right in the face. It was
Yeah.
intense.
And he's like, why would you do that? Like, what the fuck? And,
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? And he's just backing away from him slowly. And Henry is like going on in his like crazy spew about how like they all have to die. And he's just finishing what he started. And then Eddie is behind the shower curtain, and he ends up being able to, I guess, take the knife out of his cheek, and then is able to stab Henry, and is able to walk out of the restroom. And then, of course, Ben and Bev hear what's going on. They try to go up there to try to see what's going on, and we have Eddie coming out with like blood all in his mouth, and then Henry jumps out of the restroom.
I like as he's leaving, he goes, "You should cut that fucking mullet. It's been like 30 years, man."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I loved how he recognizes immediately too who that is.
Yeah.
I
mean, because he looked very different. Did not age well.
Mullet was the only thing that stayed the same.
Yeah.
And which is pretty specific, because that means that they had to keep cutting his hair in a mullet all those years. And so they end up helping Eddie, of course, and then Bowers escapes. But then at this point we cut to Bill, who is at the fair because he's trying to find the little boy. He's running in there like a madman, and he ends up seeing that the little boy walks into a funhouse mirror clown type of situation. So he runs in there as he's like running into people, and people are like, "Oh my God, this guy is crazy." But he ends up getting in there, and essentially it's a funhouse mirror, wacky room. So it's like really creepy. And then we have him trying to make his way through it. We see the little kid walking through, and he ends up getting to a point where he sees the little kid, but they're like separated by the glass or the mirror.
Just like a thin sheet of glass. Have you ever
been in one of those?
It wasn't one of those, but as a kid, I went to a haunted house that had a chain link fence maze out front. So in order to even get to the front door of the haunted house, you had to go through this chain link fence maze. But they also had a strobe light going off. And so when the strobe light went off, it made the chain links invisible. You couldn't see.
Yeah.
And so there was one point I was so sure there was this like little doll girl behind me, and I was, about to shit a brick. Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to make a run for it. And I ran, and I hit the chain link fence so hard. Ouch. It threw me back like 3 feet. And then I was just on the ground like,
ouch. Yeah.
So have you ever ran into any?
No. I mean, I've ran into, I somehow don't ever
ran
clear
into a glass sliding door or something.
No, I don't. I managed to not clear doorways for some reason. I like will bump the fuck out of this whole side of my body all the time. I don't know, because like my perception is off. But
ouchie.
I don't think I've ever walked into something or bumped into something like in that specific like manner. But I have been I have been in a funhouse thing, but I never bumped my head or
never
anything.
Like ran full force.
Yeah, not full force to where it knocked me back. I have been like, oh, that's a wall, but like not like, yeah.
I mean, a run.
I think
a
lot
of
the time too, I was like this, but like you also were getting chased or scared by
I
something.
Was,
yeah,
so this thing was pursuing me, and I was like 13, so I was like,
let me run.
My mom left me alone. Like, time to run.
Well, I mean, like I have run into something before and then got thrown back 3 feet. And that was whenever I ran into that tree at BSR, and then I like fucked up my nose here. Yeah. But
ouchie.
That was different because I guess it was a tree. I didn't think about it. But yeah, I know what feeling you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have Bill being in there, and he sees the kid, but he can't get to the kid. And then the kid's like, "Why are you following me?" And Bill's like, I just like, let me help you get out of here. But before he can even say any of these things, Pennywise shows up behind him, and he's just like salivating and like licking himself the mirror, and he starts banging his head on the mirror.
Pennywise was licking himself. That would be funny.
Oh, like a cat.
Like,
very Cat in the Hat. But he starts banging his head on the mirror window thing, and the little kid's freaking out. Bill's freaking out. He's trying to like bash into it too.
The way that Pennywise just slams his head, and it's just
really scary.
Bah, bah, so repeatedly, and you're just like waiting and waiting and waiting for the glass to shatter. The tension that scene builds up is just remarkable,
and it's very loud,
terrifying.
and it's like traumatizing, and the little kid's
jarring,
screaming, and he's like, "Leave him alone, take me instead." And
beautiful.
We do have Pennywise smashing through that fucking glass and then just like devouring the little boy,
taking a big old bite out of him.
Also, Bill did tell him to leave town, so it's kind of his fault.
Yeah,
very much
victim blaming.
Yeah. And so he couldn't save the little kid, and unfortunately it's very sad. And we have Stanley narrating.
Bill then driving past the Jewish synagogue, and we've got Stanley giving
or it was Richie, right, driving by?
Yeah, Richie, sorry.
you're
Richie
good.
driving
Yeah,
past the
yeah.
Jewish synagogue. And then this is where I paused the movie. And so I must have messed up the names. But Stanley narrating and giving this like heartfelt speech about like, I know I'm a loser and I always fucking will be
Yeah.
at his bar mitzvah and stuff like
Richie
that.
was there to like cheer him on.
Clap.
Yeah. But we have Mike waiting at the library. And that's whenever and the whole reason that this is also good for the narrative of the movie is because Richie was like literally about to leave town, but because he remembers this moment with Stanley, it like makes him be like, okay, no, I gotta stay, I gotta do it, I gotta show up for Stanley because Stanley couldn't make it, essentially. And so Mike is waiting at the library, and this is whenever he starts to a book falls, and he starts to, I think it's just to distract him, because then when he is looking at the book and pulls it down, fucking Henry Bowers is there and starts attacking him.
And the book, whenever it did fall, it was opened up to a page of his parents' death.
Oh,
the news clipping.
Yeah, it was fucking
and
with
it
him.
said 2 crackheads die in a fire, which we find out later was not the actual headline. It was what Pennywise wanted him to see. But yeah, then Henry runs out and attacks him. And he's saying this, you should have burned too, Mike. Like, you should have been in that. And Henry nearly fucking kills Mike. He's got that knife inches, like not even
away
inches, centimeters
away
from his face. And he's just like right there. And then
Richie comes from behind and ends up putting an axe, which we did see a little while ago, into the back of Henry's head. Yep. So he is dead. And then this is whenever Richie ends up throwing up next to Mike, because he's like, oh my God, I just killed somebody.
Yeah, and I love whenever Bill or whoever comes in and they were like, are you all right? And he was like, no, I'm not all right. I just killed a guy. And he was like, I was talking to Mike, like, not you.
Ben, yeah. And then
it was Ben.
Yeah,
that's
it was Ben
right.
who asked. But at the same time that all this is happening.
Oh, that's right, because Bill's going rogue right now.
Yeah, because they get a call from Bill, and Bill is like, you know what? He just killed a kid right in front of me. I'm gonna go take care of this myself. I don't want y'all to come because I don't want anybody else to die for me or for whatever. And so that's whenever they're like,
the
no,
fuck you're not.
Yeah. So they all end up going to the fucking house that they went to at the first film.
Bill still leaves his goddamn bike in the road as an adult.
Yeah, like he does many times throughout the movie. And so that's whenever he gets to the house, the guys show up just in time to go in with him, and he's like, I don't want y'all going with me, but then he's like,
losers stick together.
And Richie, you said it best in the past, and after like 2 different things that Richie says, he's like, let's go kill this fucking clown.
That's right. Let's kill this fucking clown. And they go back into the house.
Yeah.
And then
they're going through it, and then pretty immediately off the bat, they end up getting separated. Because we have Eddie, Bill, and Richie together, and then Ben, Mike, and Bev together. And then Ben and Bev and Mike end up getting separated. But at this point, there's a lot of stuff going on because Ben starts getting because before they're separated, Ben starts getting carved up by Pennywise.
Into
almost like
his
Jigglypuff.
now abs by Jigglypuff.
By Jigglypuff, yeah.
Jigglypuff.
Pennywise is carving him up, and they don't tell at first what's happening, but when they look in the mirror, they can see his reflection, and they see Pennywise there, and he almost starts to cut and slash at Ben's neck, but thankfully Bev is able to break the mirror, and so it kind of stops that from happening. And they were, what was it saying? Home at last.
Carved into his stomach.
At Ben's tummy. And then we do have Eddie, Bill, and Richie in the other room, and Stan's body is in the fridge, and his head pops off, and it starts to grow like these little spider legs, which is pretty sick, and starts to attack all the boys in there.
Chasing them around.
And they're essentially able to get it off and kick it around, and it hides. But then whenever Richie's trying to like help Eddie, it ends up attacking his face, and then Eddie's like stuck in this like frozen fear mode, like a deer caught in headlights, while Bill is like screaming at him for help to try to get the knife to stop it. But thankfully Ben runs in and he stabs the head and is able to throw it on the other side of the room. And then that's whenever we have like, it kind of oozy, what's the word?
It slumps off.
Slumps off, yeah. And then Bill starts to yell at Eddie.
And then they go down to the well.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Ben went like overkill, stab in the head and stuff. Yeah. They go down to the well and they're basically, they waste no time. They go right in. We see them getting in deeper into the well, and then they
go into the water.
Yeah, they find Pennywise's lair waist deep in water, basically.
And then that's whenever your old lady friend comes back.
Yep.
And starts attacking Beverly and
Bev
drowns
hears her name and stops to turn, and then old lady pops up again, and that it made me jump when she popped up.
And she's like, "It's time to sink."
Time to sink.
Yep. And so they all.
And poor Eddie's left alone.
Yeah, literally, because all the boys jump in after her, but Eddie's left up there, and he's like, "Guys, I don't want to walk out of here alone. Please come back." They thankfully all come back up, and so this is whenever they're like, "Okay, they're trying to get prepped and ready. They need to do the ritual." But Eddie needs a little pep talk real quick from Richie because he's freaking out. He doesn't want to do it. He's scared. He doesn't believe and that they can defeat it. And then Bev gives him the little iron rod thing from the front and is like, "This is what kills monsters." And he's like, "Does it really?" And she's like, "If you believe."
If you just believe.
Yep. And that's all it takes. And so we do have them opening up a hatch in the middle of the little thing that they're at in the lair because its true lair is beneath this layer.
In the beneath to find belief. It crept in the depths.
Yeah. And so they end up basically pulling like a chamber of secrets and going down deeper into this cavern. And it reminds me of The Descent a little bit because they're like cave diving. Yeah. And then they end up getting
As
into,
above, so below.
Yeah, very much like that.
With that one scene where what's-his-face died.
A lot of people died.
Which a lot of people died.
I'm like, I don't remember
the
which
camera
one.
Guy. I think was his name Ben.
I think so. I remember a lot of that movie.
Who was also in The Conjuring.
Gotcha.
No, not The Conjuring. Fucking The Purge.
The Purge.
He played the bloody stranger.
Yeah.
Remember whenever he fell down that like well thing?
Oh yeah. That's
because the
terrible.
Old lady, or the pregnant lady with the baby popped up behind him and was like, and then he was like,
yeah. And then those are really cool sound effects.
Died.
And then we have them getting to its true layer. And
I called it the ultimate layer.
Ultimate layer. And it basically looks like a supersized version of what they had just came from.
Yes, it did.
Because it had the same form.
Same exact thing. It was just like another cistern.
Yeah.
And then also, I'm sorry, when Bev was giving Eddie that pep talk and gives him the steak, I was like, but how? I felt like Bev was low-key like handing it off because she was like, I don't want to climb down with this motherfucking thing.
Maybe.
And then I was like, how is Eddie supposed to climb down with this whole steak in his fucking hand? I mean, I guess he put it in his belt loop or something in the back and just shimmied on down.
Yeah.
But
because
they didn't have a rope, they weren't like rappelling, they were climbing down as well.
Maybe you could carry it in your armpit kind of situation.
But then you'd have to make sure that this arm never lifts.
That's true, and you probably couldn't.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I'm assuming maybe he put it in his belt loop and just, I hope he didn't stab his butt.
The only way to find out is for you to go find exactly the same measurement and properment like thing and try it out yourself.
Don't try this at home, kids, but
That's the only way. And so that's whenever they end up getting down there, they start to get their artifacts out because Mike pulls out the little thing that we've been seeing this whole film that I guess we never brought up, which is the little leather-looking, what do you call that? Bucket?
Pyramid-looking bucket.
Yeah.
It's four-sided.
It's supposed to hold the artifacts that they need.
I wanted to say cylindrical, but it's not really cylindrical.
It's like a... I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
It's like a pyramid with a little mouth at the top.
Yeah. So not like a rounded pyramid type of situation.
Rounded pyramid.
But it's made out of leather. So that's, or I don't know if it's leather, but it looks like it's
leather.
Yeah. But anyways, they end up placing that on the ground. They start the ritual. They start to put in their little artifacts, which we have, Bill's boat. And they all also do like a little explanation, but
the past must be burned with the present.
Bill's boat, Eddie's inhaler, Bev's postcard. We have Ben's yearbook page where he says like, "This is what I've kept it with me all this time," and Bev is kind of like, "Wait a minute." And then we have Richie's token, and we have Mike's rock from the rock fight.
I love all the while the banter. It was like, "That's not gonna burn. That's not going to burn quickly."
Literally.
And then, well, neither is that. That's not going to burn.
I love how they're talking about that, but Mike put a fucking rock in there.
A rock, for real.
And then we have Stanley's shower cap. And so they start to chant as the dead lights.
And they're saying it can only
down.
be attacked in its true form, which is the dead lights.
A light.
The lights.
And Mike is like, the night needs to put out by darkness. And so they end up chanting this chant.
The ritual of Chud.
The ritual of Chud. And did you write down the words at all? I don't know, because there was only 3 words, but it was like something like turn out the light.
Turn light into dark.
Turn light into dark, yeah.
The first step was the reunion. Second step was to gather the tokens. And third step, the final step, was to burn everything.
Yeah.
And then turn light into dark, they chant.
And they
as
start
the dead
to
lights descend.
do all
upon
of
them.
that. And it seems like it may start to be working, because then the lights start to go into the little thing. But as soon as they go into the thing, it turns into a balloon, and the balloon starts getting so big that it like sends them all back because it pops. And then
They get hearing loss and stuff.
And then we have freaking Pennywise coming out, and he's like
Tell
taunting
them
Mike.
why your silly ritual didn't work.
And he's basically exposing how Mike lied, how
And he says, it's all just, what was it, Eddie? A gazebo?
a gazebo, yeah. And then which is a good callback to the first movie, because it's a placebo. Mike lied because apparently all the people who tried this ritual in the past died. And he's like, well, they didn't believe. So if we believed, I knew we could do it. So basically they were all kind of just set up to fail, because that ritual never worked in the first place.
Yeah.
And which Pennywise also knew, and kind of, I feel like also, hoodwinked Mike, kind of manipulated Mike into doing all this, probably to get all them back there as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they all start getting attacked because Pennywise is in its like kind of very true form-ish self, which is like this
Massive.
like crab spider type of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with his head like exposed with the dead lights
Mhm.
behind. And I really love the way he says, for 27 years, I dreamt of you. I craved you. Oh, I missed you. I love the way he did that.
His delivery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so good. And it was
He
like,
believed it.
ooh,
Yeah.
ooh.
Like, this man's been waiting 27 years. And
has.
so we end up having them all getting scattered. Bill gets thrown into some water. Bev ends up getting... Oh, I'm sorry. Bill is in the water, and he ends up trying to like escape and try to swim back up. But we see that like he's stuck in like this cave system thing where he
Ice
can't.
covered kind of situation.
Yeah. And so that's whenever we do have Bev and Ben getting separated as well, but they end up getting pulled away from each other into like these fantasy things where Bev is seeing that she's in the stall that she was getting bullied in when she was younger, and Bill was in the clubhouse. Or no,
Yep.
Ben.
Ben is in the clubhouse,
Yeah,
and then
we need-
Eddie and Richie are with the 3 doors.
The way we have 3 Bs, Bill, Bev, and Ben. It's very
very confusing. Yeah.
And I just read what was that thing? Like whenever people write books or things, like you're not supposed to have characters that have start with the same letter. And then we've got 3 right here next to each other.
Bill, Bev, and Ben.
But Eddie and Richie are also kind of separated, but they are together, and they end up having the same thing of like whenever Bill and Richie were little kids, and there's the separation of the doors, and there's like one's very scary, one's not so scary, and one's regular scary, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Richie remembers like how it was reversed when they were younger, so he's like, nah, he's fucking with us. We need to go to the very scary one, and it ends up being the opposite of what we saw in the first one, because it was her
the legs.
her body in the first one, right? Her
Have you
upper
seen
torso.
my shoes? Yeah.
And then in this one, it's her bottom half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Asking, have you seen my shoe? And then there's just little
legs running
bottom
after them.
torso runs after them.
So they close that door, and that's when they end up going to the not so scary one, and ends up being a little palm, which is a callback to Richie being
Earlier.
like, saying
I
like,
hope it shows up as a dog.
Pomeranian.
A Pomeranian.
Mm-hmm. But it was
And-
a very demonic Pomeranian, so they closed that door. And so at this point, they just end up going back the way they came, because it is no longer
It's
funny
already
with
lost,
them.
yeah, interest.
Yeah, it's going after someone else. But we do have that Bill is in the basement of his own old house, and he's kind of getting this dream mix of Bill getting confronted by Georgie, because this whole life Bill has really led with has had a lot of guilt, because apparently that day that whenever Georgie wanted to go out and play, Bill wasn't really sick. He just didn't want to play.
He just didn't want to go outside and play. Yeah.
Yeah, so he lied.
And we're in the basement, which was filled with water, which was a good callback to the first movie.
Mhm.
And whenever he emerged earlier, he emerged into the basement. And then we get Georgie basically saying, you lied and I died. You lied and I died. And just yelling that over and over again. And then we flash back to Ben's clubhouse, right?
Yeah.
It collapsing and Bev's
Bev's
bullies
having the
basically
bulls,
pounding at the door.
and the blood is coming in on her. and she's like getting more and more blood in there. So she's like about to drown, and he's about to be suffocated by the dirt, and he's trying to read the poem out to her.
And Ben's getting fucking buried, and Pennywise is savage. Sav was like, "You little fatty fatso."
He's like,
"You're always just a fat kid."
Yeah, all the abs.
Jesus fucking
all
Christ,
the success,
Pennywise.
but you're still a little fatty fat bot. And so that's whenever he ends up screaming out like, "Beverly, I love you." And so she ends up hearing him, and she's able to conquer like her fear and is able to bust through the door, and they're able to like, they're
right next to each other all along.
Grab each other's hands and pull to each other and save each other, which is very nice. And then we cut back to Bill, who ends up having to face himself because he ends up having to tell his old childhood self, it wasn't your fault. Like, you've been carrying all this guilt, but like, just because you didn't want to play one time, you were the best brother of all. So like, you need to like get over it. And then the young child Bill tries to kill the adult Bill, but then
with the sheep
adult
gun.
Bill reverses it and then kills the little child Bill, which is actually Pennywise. Yeah.
Yep.
Obviously. And so then that's whenever we do cut back out to Bill getting out of the water, but then we have Mike, and Mike tries to help him, but then Mike gets attacked by Pennywise, and Richie comes out and tries to save Mike, and he's like really
"You're
being a
sloppy
badass.
bitch.
Yeah, he's like,
yippee-ki-yay, mother." Boom.
because he gets the dead light shown in his face. And unfortunately, with the dead lights, it's kind of like an automatic, like, puts you in a trance.
Yeah, exactly.
And so he kind of had no choice at this moment.
And this is really cool too, where you're seeing Pennywise being fueled from the deadlights from behind his head. His like whole back of his cranium is just open, and then you're seeing the deadlights that you see from Pennywise's throat is not actually like in his throat, it's from behind his whole head. His whole head is opened up, which I just like to imagine every single time that like with Bev in the first film, that's what happened. Which is so cool.
It's very visual. And this is whenever Eddie gets the courage and ends up using that spear and throwing it at Pennywise's mouth. And
he says, "Beep, beep, motherfucker."
And Pennywise does have a pretty like visceral reaction. He starts to fall back, and he gets stabbed onto the layer thing that he had that's very like pokey and stuff. And it's really sad because at this point, then Eddie goes to try to wake Richie up, and he wakes him up, and he's like, "Eddie, I got him. Like, I stabbed him. I think I killed it. I think I did." And then he ends up getting stabbed.
No, not Eddie.
By it. And then Pennywise is just like, laughing and is just like yodeling because I got Eddie. And then Eddie's poor body gets flung and thrown, and he ends up being in like some little cutout in the rocks in the earth. And then they all try to surround themselves around Eddie. They're trying to make sure he's okay, as Pennywise is trying to get after them, and they know that they have to get out. And Ben tries to find a way out, and they try to get out, and their plan is to escape because they need to make Pennywise small and bring it back to the cistern where they were before, because that's the only way they feel like they can defeat him. But because whenever they try to go out there and Pennywise beats them to the like exit that they had to come up with plan B. And plan B is that there's more than one way to make someone feel small.
Yep, they're going to make him feel so small that they can kill him. And I like how, also, going back just a little bit to even Eddie on his deathbed, I don't remember what was said, but he was like, "Hey, Richie, I fucked your mother."
No, that was literally all that was said.
Yeah,
because he's
just
like, "Hey, Richie,
deathbed.
I got to tell you something."
It was fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're making Pennywise believe that he is small, and Pennywise is saying like, "I am the eater of worlds," blah blah blah, and they're just like, "Oop, you're just a clown, bitch. You're just a clown.
A zombie, you're just a this. You're just a leper. You're just They're basically calling him all the names of the things that he thought would be scary.
You're just a funny
them.
painting, stuff like that, like for Stanley.
Yeah.
And they make him feel tiny, or they make him tiny and funny looking, basically, and then they just steal his little heart out of him.
Yeah, it's pretty savage because Mike just goes in there, pulls it out, and they
all
end up
crush his heart together.
Yep, doing it together and killing it, and it's pretty symbolic and like very much like you would think that there should be like a bigger like or like a, but really what it is like their heart and like their overcoming of the fear that was able to defeat the creature thing being, because honestly I still don't even know what it is, but they are just able to destroy it.
They destroyed it.
Yeah. And so unfortunately, because they destroyed it and this is its lair, everything starts falling to shit. So they come and run to Eddie's body, and Richie's like, oh my gosh, we got to help him, guys. But they're like, sweetie, he's dead.
Poor Eddie is dead.
He is dead. Like we can't do anything. We have to go. And so they end up getting out of there. They end up barely surviving, and they come out to the cliffside to where the quarry is, where they were kids when they jumped off, and they end up jumping into the water and getting washed off. And they're kind of, processing what has just happened, making jokes about how if Eddie would have been there with them, he'd be, complaining how the water is so dirty and they're trying to clean themselves.
Yeah, he would have hated this. Hated cleaning themselves with dirty water. And yeah.
Yeah, but as they're talking about all this, Richie, of course, is taking it pretty hard and he's crying. So it's really nice that they all kind of then start to have this group hug.
Which kind of reminded me a lot of the first movie whenever Bill was crying over Georgie's jacket.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we basically get this underwater kiss scene from Ben and Bev.
Yeah, pretty
they're
sweet.
Making out, and then they're all walking back.
Yeah, and this was probably one of my favorite parts of the movie is the shot of them as kids. As they look back at the reflection, and it includes Stanley and Eddie. Yeah.
Yeah. And I liked how the window said, Derry is calling you. All of their scars disappeared as well.
Yeah, on their hands.
Which was like, okay.
Yeah.
But
Part
little
of the
Eddie.
supernatural.
Yeah. Little Eddie being back with them saying, like, I can't go home like this, blah, blah, blah. And just the cute little banter that ensues from that.
And between him and Stan, I love how they gave them kind of the last lines of the movie.
Yeah. I agree.
And then we have Mike, giving a call to Bill and, checking in on him. I love how before he hangs up the phone and stuff, and they even talk about how they're not forgetting this time, and they think it's because it is officially dead, and
or that they have more to remember than forget.
That's right. And at this point they Mike tells him he loves him, and he tells him he loves him too. And we see that Bill received a letter from Stanley, and they all received letters from Stanley. And we get this nice little narrative moment from Stanley at the end, describing why he didn't show up in the end, because he felt like he would be the most fearful, and he knew that if only one of them was the weakest in the chain, essentially. If he were to show up and be scared, they would have failed. So he basically took himself off the playing board.
Yeah, took himself out of the picture. In that moment, we also see that the headline changed from 2 locals die in a fire to instead of 2 crackheads and stuff die in a fire as well. So the narrative is changing in general.
Of Derry's history.
And or really just what Mike was forced to see this whole time. And then we see Richie carving we saw earlier him carving the little R+ into the sign, or into the
road
fence
thing.
But we didn't see what the plus was, and then we saw R+E
for Eddie.
So we can assume that it was Eddie. And then with Stanley narrating, we hear the thing about being a loser is you don't have anything to lose. And
once a loser,
always a loser. We'll always be losers as Mike drives out of town. And then the credits roll, and we get the same piano music that opened with the first film. And it's a beautiful ending.
That's the end.
It wraps it up with a nice, pretty bow.
Yes.
I must appreciate that they made it only 2 films instead of drawing it out into a third. Although they could have easily cut these short, made them each an hour 30, and then made it a third film. Yeah, they could have done that.
But overall, I feel like even though both of them were long, and this one even being longer, I mean, it's still kind of it had a good pace to it.
Yeah, it did. There was no moment where it felt like this is really had a lull. Like even with me breaking it up into 2 bits, there was not really a good moment for me to pause it. There was just a moment where I was like,
this is it.
I have to go. Well, actually, there wasn't a moment when I paused it. It was the moment when the power went out. I was in the middle of watching it, and I was like, well, I'm gonna go do something else now for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then I came back and watched the rest. But yeah.
That's 2019's chapter 2, It. And I guess we're going to go straight into the booze.
Yeah.
I would give it a 5.
A 5?
Yeah.
Oh, you liked it more than the
I remember
first?
I thought that I liked the first one more, but watching this one, I liked how they still incorporated the kids into it, and it really made it feel super nostalgic, and it made it feel like there was so much to lose and so much on the line, and like the stakes were really high. I'm really, 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 really torn and sad that Stanley and Eddie had to die.
I know.
But also
Eddie
it just
died,
makes it, so same because it's just so sad. And he was probably, I think, my favorite. Eddie was like one of my favorite characters
too. Especially as a kid.
Yeah.
Kid Eddie was
hilarious.
Fucking hilarious.
So because I was so in love with all the characters, and this story was told really well, and all of the like moments with them, like when they were having their individual token moments and getting their scares, like they were all very interesting and captivating in a different way. And it really did a good job of bringing around, you know, the story 27 years later and them having to come back and confront and face their fears and do it all over again to finally destroy Pennywise. I thought the music was really good, and the only thing was the hate crime at the beginning was very triggering.
Yeah.
But like other than that, I mean, what other way could like show you just how like influential Pennywise's and its like evilness was over the whole town, because it was like a leech bleeding into the people, and they were also performing evil acts because of the evil seed that was, you know, underneath their hometown. So I'm super excited for what Derry could be now that it is no longer there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Derry could grow to be a super
awesome metroplex.
forward,
I don't know.
progressive town.
But I give it a 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody did good. Everybody's acting was good. The cast was phenomenal. The story was good. I think they really paid a lot of great, what's the word? I don't want to say homage because it's just a remake, but like they did good at making a classic even better.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people grew up with the original It and were like, you know, really terrified or like it really made an impression or was really good. So yeah, it's really good.
A whole Winter Guard show was a Pennywise Winter Guard show happened this past year at Worlds. Yeah.
That sounds scary.
They were all in full Pennywise makeup.
That's crazy.
And they were just spinning flags and sabers and rifles and stuff.
So like clown music?
To the soundtrack of
It? Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah. But I thought that was so fun once I saw that.
Yeah.
Do you want some trivia?
Yeah.
Bill Hader was unaware that Bill Skarsgård can actually move his eyes in 2 different directions. Hader asked Skarsgård what kind of editing was done to achieve the effect in the first movie. And Skarsgård, in full costume and makeup, responded by saying, "Oh, you mean this?" and showed him how he can do it naturally startling, which startled Hader. Skarsgård stated that he had more fun on set during this movie because he was actually able to talk to and hang out with his adult co-stars. Skarsgård had minimal contact with his child co-stars in 2017.
Scared, right?
Yeah, so that they would be more genuinely scared of Pennywise once they saw him. And he also had to calm them down after each shot. Okay, you already told us that fun fact that his mother was also his wife. And
I have a fun fact. I don't know if you'll see it in there.
Let's tell it here.
A lot of stuff that Stephen King writes about is drawn from his past and from his childhood. And the bike that Bill had and owned when he was a kid, Stephen King actually knew a kid when he was younger who was named Billy, who had a stutter, and he had a bike that was named Silver.
I love that.
And so that's why he brought that into the movie and the book as well. So that fun fact goes there. What's your other fun fact?
Let's see.
Trivia?
Bill Hader was approached for the role of Richie Tozier based on Finn Wolfhard's wish to cast him in the sequel. Hader, who had never met Wolfhard, was extremely flattered that Wolfhard wanted him to take on that role. And then Isaiah Mustafa went through Stephen King's novel 8 times before filming so that he could fully understand the character Mike Hanlon.
Oh, yeah.
And then Bill Hader, on the other hand, had read the book as a child and refused to reread it, claiming that it was way too long. That sounds like Bill Hader.
And it is very long.
Yeah. As for me, I think I would have to give this movie... Ooh.
You gave the first one a 4.5.
I did. And I loved the first one. And as much as I love Bill Hader, I think I love the first one more.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I would still give this movie a 4.5 overall.
Mm-hmm.
Because just they did do such a good job of integrating both the children and into this film as well as the adults.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill Hader did knock it out of the park. Love Bill Hader. If anything ever happens where he gets canceled, I'll cry. Please don't be a dickbag.
For real.
But it was beautifully shot. The soundtrack was great. It is not distracting at all in the slightest. The storyline was there. It, like you said, it did a great job of taking an original and it made it into its own classic. I feel that these two can stand alone. 100%. It has been a really long time since I've seen the original It. Like, I'm talking since I've been a child. So it's been a really long time. I would be interested to go back and rewatch it and see how I feel it stands up to these two.
Probably
but
been like a good 10 years for me. I'm trying to think when the last time I watched it. Probably more than that. Not when I was a kid, though. Maybe when I was a teenager.
yeah, it's definitely been since I was like preteen for me.
Yeah.
But this film it does such a great job of integrating horror and comedy
and drama
and drama, and it adds just such a levity to the situation that's happening, and I love it. I love whenever, just like Get Out and all of Jordan Peele's films and the levity that he adds to the situation, but also tackling some pretty,
heavy
prominent
issues.
social issues. Yeah. And it, I not that this one tackled as many prominent social issues, but I do enjoy the levity that was added to the film through the comedy, because I have a dark sense of dry humor, and I feel like this movie really played into that. It's got some drier bits to it.
It definitely
like.
does.
Yeah. So as for me, I think I give it a 4.5 as well. I almost wish I could bump the original up to a 5.
You can. Just
I
reverse
can.
it.
I give the original
A 5.
Chapter 1 a 5 and Chapter 2 a 4.5. I liked the scares more in the first one.
Okay, yeah.
I think the scares were better, minus the creepy shuffling naked lady. Not even big lady, just whenever she shuffles past. That bit scared me.
Yeah.
But I think overall I enjoyed the scares
Better
in the first
one.
movie better. Yeah. So I think I would give the original a 5 and this one a 4.5. It's still really up there for me.
And then if I gave it a 5 and you gave it a 4.5 on this one, that makes it a 4.7?
Yeah.
Sure.
4.75 for It Chapter
They're both
2,
the same then.
2019. Yeah.
4.75.
Exactly.
Cool. That's great.
So we love
They equal each
these
other.
films equally.
Yes. And once again, we're in the lovely Rogue Media Network studios.
That's right. We're in a new one. But
yeah,
they always
we're
take
here.
great care of us.
You can listen to our podcast and a lot of other podcasts on their network. So not
One all in one central place, and
There
that
we
is
go.
at
roguemedianetwork.com.
And then you can also listen to us or all those amazing podcasts on your biggest streaming platforms, which the biggest two are
Spotify.
and also Apple. But
Mhm.
wherever you do listen, don't forget to.
Rate, review, like, and subscribe.
That's right. And tell your friends. We've
Mhm.
got some new followers. We got new followers and new listener requests.
Yeah.
As of this morning at 5 a.m. when I was awake and was like,
Let me
let
check
me
this.
respond to people's messages at 5 a.m.
Yay.
But I'm so excited to see
And
that
we
our
are
fan base is
thankful.
growing,
Yes.
and we're so thankful for y'all. So shout out to whatever your name was. I forgot it.
It's
now.
okay. Next time.
Next time.
And so
When we cover your films, we'll give you a
yes.
shout out.
So if you'd like to do that and leave some other requests for us, or just any general comments, or what your ratings was for one of our episodes and the films that we covered, please make sure to
reach out to us on our one social media platform, and that is Instagram at
Boobays Podcast, and that's at BOOBAES, because we're your boobays, not your boobabes.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And until next time, you guys, I think this is wrapping up our little summer of horror.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll maybe get into back to school ones. Who knows what we'll do next?
Yeah.
We don't know.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. But until next time, you guys.
Bye, bays.
Bye, bays.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.